Eddie Hearn called me and he said to me, you really should do a British organisation. A campaign by the British Boxing Board of Control to discredit Biba on everything, even though we are the leaders, they are the followers. My real name is Gianluca Di Caro and I'm the Vice President. I suppose the biggest person in love with Biba. It's my life. Everything revolves around Biba.
Fantastic. So tell us a bit about Biba. What do you stand for, and a little bit about Biba background?
Well, British and Irish Boxing Authority is what it stands for. Originally, I was Vice President of the Malta Boxing Commission, and I was also the Managing Director of the TKO gym. And we were doing an event, and so I was Vice President of the Malta Boxing Commission as well as Managing Director of the TKO. And the TKO, we had the TKO gym and we had TKO events. We had this event, and for some reason or another, the other organisation decided, even though we'd put in for the fighters permissions to box, overseas fighters, 21 days before the event, because a certain person from within the board was on holiday, they actually turned it down. Not enough time, so I suggested we did it as MVC, those fights, and we did. And the next thing you know, it just blossomed from there. I mean, we had promoters that were BBBOC decided to come to us, so we ended up sanctioning their events as MBC International. And then around 2014, Eddie Hearn called me and he said to me, you really should do a British organisation. And I sat down and I thought about it. We discussed it many times. And then in 2016, we actually took that move and we created the British and Irish Boxing Authority.
That's awesome. So this was actually originally suggested by Eddie Hearn.
Yeah. He popped the thought in my head and it stood there.
Well, you just wouldn't think that would be the case, considering
I can't thank Eddie enough for this. I love Eddie to bits anyway. I mean, when we were TKO, our best fighters, it was so easy to work with Eddie. And I'm going to stress, to work with Eddie is an amazing experience anyway. The man's great. I mean, at that time, Johnny Wish was with him, John Wishushan, and Marianne and myself. Every single matchroom event we was invited to, Marianne ringside seats and me ringside photography or whatever I wanted to do, basically. Matchroom, I just love them to bits, you know.
That's awesome. That's great. That's great to hear. A lot of love for them myself, to be fair. I don't want to delve into it too much, but I think it's good to address the elephant in the room between the misunderstanding, let's say, or miscommunication, or call it hate, call it whatever you want, between Biba and the board.
Well, no, the campaign by the British Boxing Board of Control to discredit Biba on everything, even though we are the leaders, they are the followers. We've got a situation recently on that. We discovered that fake medicals were being used. I wrote to Robert Smith in December. As soon as we discovered these, I wanted a meeting, and he wouldn't hold a meeting with me. For the last 2 months, I've been trying to get a meeting with Mick Collier. We've been texting back and forward, but it's never happened. It's a serious issue. People die in the ring. People, let's take Alejandra, the girl that fought Hannah Rankin recently. Serious damage, the kids suffering. When it comes down to medicals, when it comes down to the health and safety of the boxer, it's the most important thing. After 2016, when you had Tommy Martin in, I think it was January or February 2016, had a bleed on the brain. Then you had the Nick Blackwell incident. Then you had Mike Towell die in Scotland. Then you had Edward Gurkek's situation. After that, we went and sourced infra scanners so that we could scan people pre and after fights to try to prevent, so that we're aware if there's the incident, and if it's after the event, so that we could get them to the right facility. Those things are important. The health and safety of the boxers is the most important thing. This is what Biba's all about. Look at the board's thing, it's all lawyers, it's all police, it's all judges, it's all that kind of thing, and they're a litigious organisation. Our board and we have a 10-strong medical board of the leading specialists in the world. I mean, it's like last week I was in a meeting with Mike Miller from Human Kinetics, and he's with Professor Yanis. I can't pronounce Yanis' surname, sorry, he's Greek. And
with a forename like Yanis, I'm not surprised.
The man is the leading in the field of biomarkers for concussion. Now, whilst Marianne is sitting to the side here and she won't want to be interviewed.
Should I pan?
You can do if you want. Marianne heads up our, Marianne and Professor Michael Graham, they head up our particular group on concussions on females. There's what people don't realise is how concussion affects male and concussion affects female differently. There's signs, there's all sorts of things. Wow. And we're doing a lot of research on this. It's to prevent problems in the long run. It's not about stopping people fighting. It's not anything to do with that. It's so that we can give them the best health and safety when they're in the ring. They know they've got the best medical operators around them. I mean, today's event, we've got Dr. Ken Park is heading up our medical team. I mean, if anyone wants to look up Ken Park, I mean, he owned Park Healthcare for everything else, but he's one of the leading surgeons in this country. You know, we don't mess around. Everything is done for the right reasons, but we're boxer-led. And the real big difference between us and the board is we as a commission believe that we work for the fighters. You know, not that they work for us. We want to do everything that's best for them. You know, it's to me that's the important thing. Let's face it, my fiance is I would say former boxer. I don't think she's actually retired yet, but is a boxer. And so what I want for Marianne when Marianne fights is what I want for every boxer to have.
Okay.
You can only have that if you have that personal involvement. And I think one of the biggest problems with the board is Robert Smith, as far as I'm aware, is the only ex-boxer on the British Boxing Board of Control, main board. You know, you cannot understand it unless you're in that situation with people. You know, to me, that's important. It's all about making it right for the fighters.
Yeah, it's really tough for me because of me being freelance. I hate politics. Just for the fans at home, I hate politics. I don't like getting involved in any of it if I can help it. But sometimes it does fringe, and you know, respect for everybody who's giving respect to the fighters. So I just want to be clear on my stance.
Yeah.
I just want the fighters to have fun. I want the sport to flourish, no matter what. Absolutely, but sometimes it's unavoidable.
There's not a lot I can do about it. I mean, if you see some of the lies that's been told about us, I mean, Robert Smith emailed the IBF, Lee McAllister. Sandy, I can't remember who it was now. Nathan De Castro, Tassif Khan, a few of them. We got them ranked with the IBF, and the BBBFC wrote to the IBF and told them that they had all failed medicals, and that was why they weren't licensed by the board. None of that is true. I actually had the emails because, bless them, the IBF didn't think when I got a phone call and I said, "Can you write to me and I'll send you back the medicals and their historic medicals and brain scans by return," and they actually forwarded the email from the board, so I actually had that. That's the kind of dirty tricks that they do, and I don't understand it. I mean, we're not really competitors for them at this point. I mean, we do at the best 50 events a year prior to pandemic. I mean, we're not at those levels again since. We have 300 fighters against their 1,200 fighters. All the big names go with them, obviously. You know, fair comment. I don't have a problem with that.
Okay.
Hopefully one day we will be on equal status, and then they will need to worry because we will give them some serious competition.
Okay, so there's a link up between Rich Energy, Will Storey, Biba, and also Assassin, and calling the new stadium the Rich Energy Stadium.
It will be the Rich Energy Stadium.
How did this come about? And I told someone really recently that I was going to be speaking to Will Storey on the show at the weekend, and he was like, "You are kidding! This guy's really controversial."
He really is.
There's loads of stuff going on there with Eddie Hearn, which I'm going to be speaking to him about tomorrow. So tell me about this. I mean, how did this come about?
I've known Will 12, 13 years. when I first met him, it's when I was managing director of TKO. We had people like Billy Joe Saunders, Kevin Mitchell, Frank Buglioni, etc. At the gym. And we were BBBFC promoters, but at the same time I was vice chairman of the BNBC, as I say. And Will, fantastic guy, comes in, works his heart out for the fighters and the coaches as well, because he even done a lot of good for Mark Tibbs. But I've got to say, he's a bit like me. This is an issue. You know, we won't stand for nonsense. If you want to lie about me, you'll have a fight in your hand, because I don't say anything unless I have the facts in front of me, usually, you know, I mean, or the facts somewhere. I don't just say things for the sake of it. And Will's the same. I mean, he'll fight for the fighters. And that causes problems, as we know with Biba. But anyway, more recently, me and Will, we've kept in touch and everything else. And he came to me one day and he said, like, I'm thinking of coming back into boxing, bringing Rich Energy into boxing.
Carrying on with Will Storey being a controversial figure, I actually don't know anything about this right now. But from what I understand, he was in F1, which, again, I've just said I know more about Portuguese than I do F1. But my friend told me, that sounds terrible, but my friend did tell me that he was with Haas Engineering, right. The F1 team, and then pulled out and didn't pay. Did that happen?
I don't know the financial situation on that, but I know all that went on that led up to that. What I would say to people is, think about what I've just said about the British Boxing Board of Control and Biba. Now think that Rich Energy is in the same marketplace as Red Bull, and
we're huge.
Without me going too much into, because what I've been told by, you know, from when me and Will spoken. Obviously, I'll let Will bring out the whole story, but basically the situation I have with the British Boxing Board of Control, Will had basically with F1 because of Red Bull. Red Bull dominate, and they don't like the new kid coming in and trying to challenge them.
In the same industry as well.
Yeah. Will was basically from. Nobody's actually offered to buy me out of boxing, but that kind of situation was where it was. But Will's like me, you know, we're doing our thing. You know, we should be allowed to compete. Why shouldn't we be allowed to compete? It's better for the fighters if we do, and it's better for motor racing if Will is there as you know, coming in to compete against Red Bull's domination of the sport. And it is Red Bull that dominates Formula One. And I'm going to say here is that I'm a Red Bull Max Verstappen fan. So, you know, I actually support the team, but, you know, so it goes. That's neither here nor there. There's no reason why you should have one or the other. I might support that, but Haas being out there is just as important as Red Bull's cars being out there. And so the sponsorship should be the same sort of situation. Rich Energy on Haas's cars shouldn't have been an issue. Same as Biba operating in the UK should not be an issue here.
Yeah, I like it. So we're in Aberdeen, sunny Aberdeen. I don't think I'd ever say.
It's gorgeous, isn't it?
It's not. We were literally walking across the beach yesterday, for the first time, because every time I come here to work, I never even get to see Aberdeen. No. And for the fans out there, if you ever get a chance, come to Aberdeen.
It's a beautiful place. I love coming up here. In fact, this is the first Biba event that I've been to this year, because I've been so busy out in Saudi and other countries in the Middle East, but mainly Saudi. This is the very first event I've actually managed to make it to. Seeing the new arena that Lee's got. I mean, we started working together. I did a business plan for Lee, must be 5 or 6 years ago. This has been Lee's dream. And to see him achieve it is just wonderful. I'm so proud of him, and I'm just so proud of that facility. And I'm proud that it's a Biba facility to a degree. You know, it's Lee McAllister's, it's Assassin Boxing, but Lee is very much integral to Biba, and I'm just so proud of the advances that he's making.
Fantastic. Thanks so much for speaking with me. Really appreciate it. And if you get a chance, check out all the rest of the shows on YouTube and further afield for the British and Irish Boxing Authority. Thanks for joining me, Rio.
My pleasure.